2022. If I could explain to you what my year looked like, I'd say it's kind of like a sunset. You don't really know what you're gonna expect in the sky. Sometimes it'll be this really aesthetic ombre color, but then it can also be this orange and pink cotton candy looking sky. Sunsets aren't always constant, the same way life isn't always constant. And I really felt that this year. So here's my reflection on what I learned in 2022.
Number 1, I must live on my own terms. So I was the first in my family to move the furthest away from home. Granted, I was still living in the same state, so going home was still pretty accessible. Literally a plane or a car ride away. While I love my hometown and I'm extremely grateful for my parents providing a home for me to live in, living in your childhood home just doesn't really feel the same anymore. It's the feeling of outgrowing your environment. As I'm going through a pivotal point in my life, my values, my perspectives, my goals are also evolving with me. And choosing to move away from home has allowed me to take control of my life and live true to myself. As simple as it sounds, I was so excited to set up my room the way that I wanted to, go out late at night with my friends 2 nights in a row, or even just deciding whether or not I want to cook and eat at home or go out to eat with friends. I finally started living for myself, and when I did, I felt so free and fulfilled. Spoiler alert, there's gonna be a lot of challenges along the way, but I fully trust myself to make the decisions that I think are best. And sometimes they won't always be the correct decisions, and that is the beauty of adulting. I'm allowed to slow down. Before the school year ended, I wanted to spend as much time as I could with my friends before we would all go our separate ways. Most of us were graduating, so we wouldn't have the convenience of just being around each other all the time. Every weekend there was something going on. We threw birthday surprises and celebrated each other. We went to music festivals and concerts. We had late night gym sessions, back-to-back weekend benders. It just never stopped. And these are the moments that I cherish the most. I basically never said no to anything because it really did feel like we were racing against the clock. Now that I don't exist in that environment anymore, it was hard for me to say no at first, and honestly, I did feel guilty for not always showing up. But I realized my priorities are also evolving. So I'm not always going to prioritize a crazy weekend bender over a good night's rest. Don't get me wrong though, I still love having fun and going out with my friends, but with enough balance where I can recharge. Once these thoughts settled in, I became more introverted, I didn't feel FOMO anymore, and honestly I can say that I am so content that my body and mind get to rest because now I'll have all the energy in the world to pursue my goals to its fullest. I have nothing to prove anyone except myself. I'd say I grew up in a pretty structured environment, so there was already a lot of expectations of me. And so naturally, I always felt like I had something to prove, whether that's academic, professional, social. But the reality is that I was proving to others and never felt satisfied with my achievements because I knew that there was always something better that I can achieve, and I didn't want to disappoint people. Because I was kind of conditioned to think this way, I became that type A, high-achieving, go-getter personality. And to be honest, it did bring me a lot of opportunities along the way that I am extremely grateful for. But in the end, it still left me feeling lost and empty inside because I didn't know if I was doing something that I was truly passionate about or if I was just doing it for the approval. I remember there was this one week in the year where I had no school, no work, no structure to my days, and absolutely no expectations from anyone. And so it really gave me a lot of time to think about my life, and I started questioning why I felt the need to shoulder all these expectations of me. And you know what? I was like, nah, I do not want to be living this way. So I slowly started to redefine everything in my life. Relationships, to success, to work-life balance, self-worth, everything. It's not always going to be rainbows and sunshines, but at least I know I have nothing to lose if I fuck up along the way because I don't owe anyone anything. Whether that's family, friends, coworkers, acquaintances, or even just society in general.
I can accept, but not always forgive.
This year I've been spending a lot of time thinking about the relationships that I value. And it did come with a lot of painful realizations. I'll be the first to admit that I'm not a perfect person, daughter, sister, friend, whatever I am to you. I know I'm bound to do some dumb shit in life, but I just hope that the people around me care enough about me to tell me if I fucked up. Because I can't always see my blind spots, but I can always try to improve and work on being a better person. As much as I'd like to hold the standard for others, it's just not realistic. Because in the end, it's pretty subjective how we all characterize what a decent human being is like. I can only really control how I treat others, so I've just learned to protect my own peace and accept people for who they are. Because to be honest, I don't have the emotional bandwidth to understand why people think or behave the way that they do. And at the end of the day, you choose who gets to stay in your life, blood or not. While I believe it's important to accept people for who they are, I still want to recognize that sometimes there are certain wounds or actions that can't always be forgiven. Don't settle for less. My parents have always taught me to be grateful for what I have and don't be greedy, picking and choosing the better option. But I realized that with a lot of my goals, I was always hungry for more because I got bored easily, literally with everything. Whether we're talking about hobbies, relationships, jobs, you need to find what is the best fit for you, because I experienced this a lot this year, and not everything is meant for me, not everything is a good fit for me. Yes, you kind of have to be picky in life. And while I think it's important to stay grounded, I also think it's important to make bold decisions, because I found that 9 times out of 10 when I did that, it pushed me in the right direction. And making those tough decisions are going to come with challenges. It's not going to come easy. But for me, I'd rather fail than have that curiosity nag at me forever. And most of the times when I did make the riskier decision, it always turned out to be okay. So I want this to be a reminder to you to never let that fear factor hold you back. Though this year has been tough, I am proud of myself for coming to terms with a lot of harsh realities. I'm just hopeful in continuing to find myself, find my identity, and find my inner peace. And I want this to be an invite for you to join me in bringing this momentum into the new year. So with that, goodbye 2022 and hello 2023.